that was a nice way to end that.
Oh, that was nice. That was Gojira, Another World, here on BANGover Radio. Yes, today's episode is just about this song. We are the BANGover Podcast. I'm Scott Allen. Super producer Chris Myers. Always
I'm here.
Yeah, he's here.
I'm here.
And we're live streaming?
Oh, yes.
We're live streaming.
Oh, yes.
All right.
We're trying. We're getting there. Getting to a...
All right. I think I'm ready for this. Yeah, new single just released from Gojira. What's to say? 4 years it's been since Magma, which I was thinking about this today when I was just driving around listening to it. It doesn't feel like it was that long ago, that album, you know? Something about it still feels very it still feels very recent in my mind for whatever reason. But when I think back at the show we went to, it was that was 4 years ago.
Because they played the hell out of it in that sense where, it was touring for that long on just that sort of one album. At a point you do the first leg of a US tour, that's a year. Then you do a European, that's the other year. And then you come back and you finish and you hit the other dates in the States that maybe you didn't hit. And that's a year.
Good God.
Of hidden festivals or whatever.
That's just 3 years of touring.
Yeah. And then just one album. And that's them because they're an international band. They need to hit.
Yeah.
It's not like they just play the States and that's it. Or,
no, they're
do a North American
obviously
tour.
They're bigger shows or in Europe.
Yeah.
Anywhere else. I mean, they came here to Austin. I believe, it was Emos. They came. That's not a huge arena. That's not our biggest venue by any means. It's definitely a mid-sized venue.
Yeah.
But still didn't completely pack it out.
They've been.
But this is Austin. Other places, other states, probably a way different vibe.
Yeah. I mean, they're kind of that band that does it at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've seen them in a small club environment all the way to.
That was the first time we saw him, was just a bar.
Yeah.
Something like the Lost Well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you get all the way up to, at the same time they're touring with Megadeth and playing, or not Metallica, and they're playing in arenas. You know what I mean? So that
And we saw him on a leg of the tour where they branched off for a couple of shows before they went back to the Metallica one. Because when we saw them, they were just by themselves. But they weren't really headlining, but they were playing. You know what I mean? Because it's not until 2016 when we see them at Emos is that
I think
their
that's
first
the shirt.
Oh, first quote unquote official headlining.
Or not even 16 actually. This was the Way of All Flesh shirt. So this is the first show that you're talking about.
Oh yeah, definitely in that small venue in San Antonio, the White Rabbit. Yeah.
So yeah.
Who knows if that place is around? I hope so. Metal venues are very, very much needed.
Yeah.
For these bands to have some place to play. Well, let's get into a little bit about the new song. We just listened to it. What do you think?
It's classic. You know what I mean? It's has all those Gojira
Elements,
hooks and elements. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's got the heavy verses, the catchy choruses.
The weird riff.
Yeah, the riffs as far as a weird pulling off sort of a technique they do, and then
Pinky hammer.
and then just the ending of the song too, where it just kind of fades out and it just becomes a whole different sort of feel. I'm wondering, is this going to be on a new album, or is this a EP thing, or is this the single? Sort of trend of releasing singles.
Maybe that's some answers that we can answer today.
Yeah.
Maybe, or some questions that we can answer today.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I shouldn't smoke so much weed before. Oh my God, I gotta get some.
Because I'm on their wiki, and I don't see any hinting of a new album. Just so
I mean, their social media is kind of scattered in the sense of they're not giving you
they do.
Hey, this is one. This is coming out.
Yeah.
Everything has just been
it's very cryptic.
Well, yeah, but we don't know when yet.
Yeah.
Because everything's up in the air right now. So to just say anyone has an exact date when
Yeah.
they're going to release something is probably not set in stone at this moment.
Yeah. But not even a whispering of like,
Yeah.
you know. So I would say right now is probably, it may be something on a CD later on, but I don't know. I don't think so. I feel like I could even I wouldn't be surprised if it was like this only song, and then
they are perfectionist. Like, what's the word I'm looking for? They're
perfectionists.
Like, yeah,
but
exactly.
this is kind of a concept, right? We've watched the music video. We would play it if we were able to loop it and stuff. But
I would feel like if they didn't like think the album was good enough, like they would just throw out a few songs and then scrap the rest, because they're those type of people where it's like it needs to be absolutely.
That's what the whole album needs to be. This whole
it needs to be Gojira, and where we're moving. So I don't think that would be the case.
Maybe this song is just that. It's just like it's a self-contained song.
There was a lot of interviews in 2019 when they were like, supposed to be on tour, about the new album coming out and about how they've been working hard on it. And everyone's like, when? And he's like, I don't know when. Just hold your horses. Because I read like a Revolver interview, a Loudwire interview, and then some YouTube show where he was doing an interview. I can't remember, like it was in Europe or something. All right, so forgive me on this for not plugging them on the information that I got, but he was saying they've been working on it hard. They're getting ready to release it, and that was like 2019. I think their whole plans was to have everything finalized by 2020, and then here everything goes to shit. So maybe they've been sitting on the album for a hot second. You know what I mean? Because that's what it sounded like, that they were working on an album every time there was an interview with Joey. That's his words in some interviews I read. So
it seems like they're constantly, from just like documentary type footage, they are working in like a studio environment all the time. So they're probably like just cranking out tunes.
Yeah.
But it's to that point, it's probably like.
Well, they have downtime right now, so
I mean, to your point,
everyone to New York.
It needs to be this album. If it's going to be an album, it's got to be this like piece. It can't be just like a song.
I feel like they have the entire album, because this was their whole plan during Magma, was like release a single with a music video, and that's exactly what they did. If I'm looking at this camera right here, you need to go watch that video and turn this shit off. Oh, in the background, we're watching Gojira live at Red Rock. I haven't watched the whole thing myself, but it's just keeping us entertained and in the moment.
We couldn't find the Red Rock, actually.
But it's distracting.
I tried to find the Red Rock.
Oh, this ain't? Oh,
no,
then
this
I'll shut up.
This is at a...
This doesn't look like a rock at all.
No.
Why did they call it
what they did for that, they streamed it on YouTube. They made it like a concert experience where it was a premiere, and then they removed the video after, so like you had to be there.
Oh yeah,
it was like a 24-hour or something to watch it.
For all y'all listening, Gojira fans, if you're not following them on Instagram, go fucking follow them right now. It's just Gojira official. Just look for the blue check mark. It's actually them.
Yes,
they've been promoting the fuck out of this new single that just came out. Plus, before then, they just released the whole Red Rock thing. This is what they said.
Oh, okay. So
with extra content, like the whole.
So that's why
version.
It's not available.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was wondering.
So that was like
they released
about a month ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it was shot really well. It sounded really good. That venue's like classic.
Yeah.
Like it's
something I should probably go on there and buy, because the best thing about following them on Instagram is their merch store. So you can get whatever you want. Shirts, that live album. They even got shirts for this new album already. So,
or the single?
Yeah, for the single.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's weird. Like
well,
rocket ship.
They had the music video. It seemed like this was like a really
they
planned out, executed thing where it's like the video, the merch, this, and then.
So what we should expect in the next week or so is the second single to come out, and then a video within that week. The music video to match with it, and then a third, because they always do these three singles with videos, and then release the album every time. So probably around Christmas.
Jesus.
Yeah, That was what they did last year. That's what Mastodon did the same thing too for Emperor Sand. Where remember 3 singles and every week they came out with a new single with kind of a music video. Theirs were different. Like theirs were like a still picture with like moving stuff. But Gojira is like mad, like just loves releasing like a single with a video. I thought you had to like put an album out and see what the single was. You know, what were people listening to the most? They pick. I don't. Please help me understand.
It seems
do
like
you just pick what the single is?
It used to be like the producers and whoever would pick it. Like, this is the single, guys, or what? You know, they're in the studio and they're like, this is it. Like telling the band almost like, this is the single. And then the band's like, okay, you say this is what's gonna sell. We trust you, Capitol Records. We trust you, whatever. And then, I mean, that also we've seen the reverse where it's like the record company telling the band, hey, you need to make a single, sort of a thing, instead of like, hey, this song is a single. So there's like there's I guess it's multifaceted with them. It seems in this day and age it's like
they kind of engineer themselves,
and also just with like, I mean, since the day of like Radiohead releasing that thing, ever since then it was like bands and high profile bands were like, okay, I can just release my songs a la carte on the internet or whatever, piecemeal. And then, yes, to your point, the audience will determine this song is the single, because there's no record company that's telling me listen to this.
But that being said, it always seemed like the band had to come out with the single before they came out with the album, like as a concept to like, would people be interested in these type of songs on an album? Because I don't know where it changed or like how everything got flipped upside down to where it was like they had to make a single to fund making a full-length album, but we're not allowed to use any of the songs off the single on the new album. And then it turned around to where the single was going to be the idea of where the new album was going to go.
Yeah, that was a weird thing where like you would have a single and it wouldn't be on the album. Or whatever.
But that was like the old school rules, especially in England. When we did the episode about it was definitely the Jimi Hendrix one, because the singles that he was pumping out were not allowed to put like on the actual album, so you had to write a whole new album. Hence why you had all these like greatest hits from bands like that, because they're taking their singles, they're, you know, the songs that you were like, where is this song on an album? Well, guess what? It's not. You know, it's like on a 3-song disc or a 2-song fucking vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
So somehow it got turned around, and then here we are 2020 where you just pump out a music video with the single at the same time and like flash market it, you know? Like I don't know how to explain it, or like really, I know they're in control of their own music, you know what I mean? And where they go in their direction. I think their record label is nearly a
we're talking about Gojira?
Yeah. Where it's like all they do is distribute, you know?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
this was their idea for sure. I'm sure they have we do know they do work with this one producer. I can't remember everyone's name, but
I mean, there are still on Roadrunner, correct? Let me check. Yeah. So, I mean,
we've seen this from, I guess, multiple bands at this point where they come out with the single and a music video at the same time. Because Roadrunner has been doing it. Earache, Metal Blade for sure. You know what I mean?
It's interesting they're taking this route in when everything is like how it is, with just like the state of music and being released and people not. Yeah. You know, I think it's kind of got like topsy-turvy there for a second, where it's like, you know, even in just media in general, movies and everything, I think some bands went to the resort of like just releasing their stuff, like, you know what I mean? Some bands like Trivium, I think, got like they pushed their release date ahead because of like, they were like, hey, the album's done. It was a marketing thing to like put it out at this time, but it's done and things are like shit right now, so we're gonna put it out early. I think that's what they did.
Okay.
So I mean, And I'm curious that they're sticking to this routine of single this marketing machine.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, you know what?
True.
It's our shit. The world's in a complete clusterfuck right now. It needs this music. We're gonna put it out now. Like, let's rework the marketing. But instead, it will be this. We're not gonna see it till the end of the year, possibly. The album's probably done.
I mean,
you know,
the Deftones is the same way.
Same way, yeah. It's like,
and we haven't even gotten a single from them. It should be any day now.
It's,
you know,
things have been sitting dormant because people are having to share tracks through the internet, listen on their own. They can't go to a studio environment and have 10 people in the room.
And it's kind of hard to promote, in some ways, to promote this stuff when there's so much other crazy shit going on, to where it's like, you know, that's getting pushed to the side. But at the same time, like, people need this to unwind.
Exactly.
This is the whole point, you know, especially a band like Gojira, where they're very uplifting. For how heavy and aggressive they are. They're very uplifting and, dare I say, spiritual. No, I shouldn't. Because that would make me an asshole. And a fucking idiot. But, yeah, they have that vibe about them. You know what I mean? Where, obviously, the new single is about what's going on. If you see the music video, there's the newspaper. There's, like, all this stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to build a rocket. We're going to go to another place and find another world that is clean and peaceful. And then it kind of like flips around, I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, but it kind of flips around like a Twilight Zone episode. But because that's what I was thinking the whole time. I was like, you just going to leave? And then it kind of makes sense at the end. But they've always been that type of band. You know what I mean? I mean, the lyrics alone, and they've always been in like, not really super outspoken environmentalists. I can't even say words. Environmentalists.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, that's where it seems like that the music video, from my first, like, glance, it seemed like the concept for this new, you know, music that is going to be coming out is, like, sort of has this future approach, you know?
Yeah.
Like another...
it's like the evolution of them as a band as well.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. So I mean, it's interesting. It's been interesting to see the conceptual evolutions through time, and the way the albums look, and the way like the art is, and the marketing. Mastodon is another classic example of like every album, the artwork is drastically different. You know what I mean? Where you're like, whoa, this is a concept.
Yeah.
And it's like
going for something else.
Yeah. And it's almost like the name kind of almost looks different in some ways, you know?
They kind of like just shake it up a little bit. I think you're right. Like in The Hunter, it had a different font than other albums, I think.
The album name did. I'm trying to think of the band, but like Remission, that classic Mastodon script, I don't think they use that now. I think it's different.
Yeah. Well, you know, I have like a few shirts that just because of like what's on the shirt, they changed the font of their name.
Exactly.
You know, they're not one of those bands that are held down by their font. Like it needs to be like Slayer every time.
Yes.
You know. So.
But that's to that conceptual idea, like, you know, it's very interesting whenever they do put out an album and you're like, oh, here's the single from it, and it's like for The Hunter or something. You're like, what the hell is this? And it's that like head that's all like collapsing and kaleidoscope head or whatever. Deer or bull head. You're like, what the you know,
it's
cool. Completely abstract. And then you see Once More Around the Sun's artwork and you're like, what is that?
That one
was
like
really
the
trippiest artwork ever.
I love the art, the album cover of that.
And then
what drawed me in immediately.
What's like, the one after that one?
And then after that, I believe we get into.
But then even the EP, it's like that classic black.
Was it Emperor Sands?
Oh yeah, the Emperor Sand, where it's like.
Yeah, I guess it was that. A long gap in between, unless I'm forgetting one album in between, you know, Once More Around the Sun and fucking Emperor Sand.
Yeah.
Leviathan, but I don't think so.
Had that
I don't think
classic
so. Yeah.
painting look. So they all have like their flavor, and that's what is interesting about Gojira. It might be a turnoff for some people, you know, that sort of a band that turns over every iteration. you're like, I want it to be the same, this CD. And it's like, it's not going to be the same because
they're
they're exploring.
older people, yeah.
Well, they're just exploring, maybe they had an idea. They're like, you know what, I want to, Sepultura, I want to write a whole album about Dante's Inferno. And you're like, well,
that wasn't a bad idea.
I didn't think it was, but you know what I mean?
Was anyone complaining on that one?
No, but
I think here's what's happening, or how metalheads are feeling about Gojira and someone like Mastodon, is where they're starting to enter a rock and roll category. They're just hard rock because metal is so extreme at a certain point to where if you would put it up against something that is extreme metal to, another world, then you'd be like, well, that's a rock song. That's a metal song.
yeah.
But I constantly love having this argument with people that I was like, well, Led Zeppelin's metal. And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, back then it was the heaviest thing. So therefore metal, because anything that you put it next to was heavier then,
Yeah.
So that was the scale of just what the sound was.
Yeah.
So
nowadays,
a lot
the
of
scale has
metalheads,
gotten crazy because you do have
Yeah.
the evolution in bands like Meshuggah or whatever, where or Deftones, where it gets 8-string guitars and it's so insanely heavy, and then you're like, or not even just the detuning, but like, extreme death metal type of stuff. And then you look at Led Zeppelin, like, there's obviously a difference. It's like,
it's just a huge difference.
Nowadays, yes,
there
is a different
rock.
Yeah.
I'm like, what a disrespectful genre title. Classic.
Yeah.
It's just classic. I get it. You're just saying it's old,
Yeah.
But I think that's where a lot of metalheads are, or what a lot of metalheads are thinking when it comes to like the new Gojira, the new anything really. And they're like, oh, I like their old stuff more, It was more aggressive. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you did. They were like, early 20s, pissed off people, just getting started grinding, And then you get to this point where you're trying to become like a legendary like songwriter, So you have to like go through all these intervals. And I don't think for one point that Gojira has lost any power. You know what I mean? When they're like, oh, it's not as heavy or as crazy before. I was like, it's heavier in a different way, It's like, it has more depth behind it, and their song structure is so good. Like, if this whole album sounds similar to Another World, I'm just going to be like, buy a beanbag, and like some old school headphones like what you're wearing, and just, bong rips and finish it, dude. Travel. Because it feels like that when you listen to it. There's so many things going on in the background, and it sounds very pleasant, but you always get what you want from a band like Gojira, with your odd timing, your heavy as fuck, riffs and drum beats, can just blast through songs sometimes where you're like, Jesus,
Yeah.
So to me, I love bands when they evolve and move on. And, I could be a hypocrite at times too, because I like Korn, but I didn't like move on because I was like, it wasn't what I was into. Maybe it wasn't what you were into at the time. It's just kind of where I'm
But it's
at,
it's like the band and you have to be kind of going in the same direction as far as like
and
trust.
That's crazy.
It's like trust almost. You're like, I trust you that you're making good music and that I'm going to follow you into this new album.
Yeah, and I think everyone's a little too judgmental, on this, where it's just like, you should just put it on, and like, maybe you don't like it at first, but if you listen to it a couple of times, I feel it's like you're going to come around.
But it's also like, I think, like we're saying, the perspective. Just look at the band where they're at now.
Yeah.
And like,
emo metal.
Look at how much heavy stuff they've done in the past. If that's one of the things that's like a hang up, where it's like, this isn't as heavy, or this isn't as like crazy as like the first album or the second one, the Link or whatever. And you're like, well, they already did the Link. They don't need to do the Link 2. I mean, they always could, but it's like, you always can go back to that, and at some point it would just be trying to top yourself. If you're not being creative and moving on, then it is just like trying to beat the next album and beat the, you get into the Pantera thing where that's like what they were. It was like the next album's just got to be even more heavier than that,
Yeah.
and then more heavier, and then at some point you just get like crazy. Where it's
where were you gonna go after that? You know,
I don't think they were able to go anywhere. They were getting pretty detuned at that point. You know, then Dime went on to do Damage Plan, and that was full on detuned.
Well, they all broke up 'cause, you know,
new metal type sounding guitars.
Yeah.
So I mean, eventually the trend of Pantera would have followed
what
probably
was Damage Plan was going to be,
and just music in general at that time.
Yeah.
The early 2000s.
Because we kind of hear a little bit of it in Reinventing the Steel. You know,
exactly.
Yeah. They in some ways set that trend of that tuning and that approach to metal,
just going like, heavier and heavier.
I know other bands were doing it, but they were like, "Oh, I see it," and then like set a structure, you know, like in stone, like that's how it's supposed to sound now, bitch, you know.
But
and
maybe it was the tuning, and maybe it was like the songwriting. Because
I didn't really like it, to be honest.
No,
it's fine. But it's not Pantera, you know. Sure. I'm more of a thrash guy. That was more like metalcore.
Yeah.
Sorry if it sounded like an asshole.
It was
using all these fucking
thrash
subgenres.
At the time isn't as heavy as Limp Bizkit or whatever. You know what I mean? So that's where it's like the trend sort of went that way, and some bands you follow or you don't, or you keep up with it.
And I mean, this will be around for a long time. Just come back to it in a couple years or a couple months.
The single or the what?
Anything.
Oh yeah.
Maybe you're like, I only like those first 2 Gojira albums. Give it some time, or just sit down and listen to one of those other albums, and be like, oh. Because I love bands, but I love David Bowie. But have I listened to every single David Bowie album?
No.
You?
I have not.
What about every single Sabbath album?
No. I love those bands. But I mean, I've listened.
And that's still like 9.
I know. There are a lot of Sabbath albums.
I can remember probably 6 off the top of my head, but I'm forgetting.
When we do the review thing, I'm going through these bands' albums to find dates, and it astounds me sometimes how many fucking albums these bands have, and I'm like, holy shit! You're looking at like Iron Maiden, you're like, like they just kept going
and over again.
They just kept going. They're like, fuck you! I don't care if anyone's listening. We're gonna keep going.
Every year, new album.
They're still putting out albums while fucking. Like I said, Limp Bizkit's #1, and they're still pushing and trying, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but they could always survive, like, based on the
the
nostalgic vibe,
exactly. But it's funny to see shit like that, where it's like you have Overkill or classic bands that have been around since or pioneers, but still had to like muscle through and just like push through all the bullshit that was happening in music.
It's probably because technology wasn't that great, at that point. If you didn't have like $1 million backstage setup, you weren't going to sound like how you need to sound like when it comes to aggressive metal. And now technology is so badass, like all those old school bands sound better than they've ever sounded.
Yeah, true.
Ever,
because
you go technology.
See Overkill or one of these bands now, even Slayer. I'm like amazed at how crazy they sound. And yet how chaotic it is. Like, you know what I mean? It's like complete madness, but it sounds really great.
Crisp. Crisp.
Same with Cannibal,
madness,
where it's like in the same vein, where like
it's so
sometimes
funny.
It's so madness and chaotic, but because of the technology and speakers are able to handle it now, it doesn't sound like garbage.
Right. And it's so funny that you said that, because I was reading an interview with about Joey, or an interview with Joey, and he was talking about the tour with Slipknot. And how, like, he's not really a Slipknot fan because he was like, I'm too old for that. Well, obviously, you pretty much they came out with Iowa when you were coming out with your first album, so kind of stand side by side. But he was saying, like, just watching them, your exact words, like, so much clarity and, like, ability to hear everything, but so chaotic and, like, super fast and heavy.
Yeah.
And it's just like, whoa, they perfected that shit. And that's why they have the Knot Fest.
Yeah.
And just good songwriting,
Yeah, that's the songwriting, the perfect like marketing with like their image,
clown.
And just like
I think the image thing was the hardest thing to sell, but they kept that niche and sold the niche side of it.
It's like no other band could look like that unless you have 8 people in your band.
It's just
and
Kiss.
And then, well, even then, Kiss is just 4 guys. You need a monster.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
You need a team of people. You know what I mean? They're almost like a rap group where it's like, one guy's a DJ. Here's the hype man. Here's this guy.
I want to see Slipknot versus the Wu-Tang.
Because
Celebrity Deathmatch.
Even rap groups have real instruments on stage sometimes. But I just mean you need like a whole, like, there's like 8 people to perform what is in your head. Like, that isn't just something that was done in a studio and a beat. If you're having the whole band on stage, and that's what reminds us of Slipknot, where it's like the DJ, so many drums, 2 guitar players, bass player. It's like stacking everything you need to like assault you with anything. What do you need?
Yeah.
You need crazy sound effects. We got our DJ guy. You need
the
toms
drums,
and like 3 drums in your face. It's gonna happen. You want chaotic effects? Well, the fact that they have like this unique stage set up because they have so many members, it's always interesting to look at because they have 2 guys on each end that are hitting shit. It's
they got
always,
flames, they got spinning racks, they got the works, you know. Plus, they have the aesthetic appeal with the masks.
They kind of like were
like that.
just. We'll get to a Slipknot episode, but I mean, they kind of, I guess, were just built for success without even trying. You know what I mean? It was just one of those.
To not turn this into a Slipknot episode, but it really was the turnaround, I think, of their 5th album. Like, right where I stopped listening to Slipknot was their next album where, like, the bass player died. They were going through turmoil, and they wrote that fucking album in, like, a month or so. Boom. They were, like, at the top of the charts.
They came back.
Fucking Grammys. Just, and then ever since then, they just crushed ass, you know? So it was a struggle for sure because time and time again, Slipknot was like, oh, we're done. You know?
For sure.
Oh, see, now I'm doing your shit. Just smacking mics around. Talking about metal. Can't even control my arms.
Interesting watch if anyone is a Slipknot fan. That first Ozfest performance is insane.
That's a pretty good one.
I'm like, wow.
It's
like in a parking lot, and you're like, oh my god, this band's just tearing it up. And that's where I was like, okay, this band is gonna do something because they don't need to be on the small stage. They're too good for this stage already.
Gojira needed to be on that festival back in that day. You know, like after From Sirius came out, they should have been on a motherfucking Ozfest. Because I feel like that would have blown. They would have really just added more fuel to the fire because they were such a slow burning band, you know.
But I think they would have fit in that time period too. You know what I mean? You know, the riffs, the melodies and stuff. They totally could have fit.
They would have fit perfect.
Yeah, in this like early '90s.
You put them with Tool. You could put them with fucking Primus.
Yeah.
You could put them with pretty much anyone. Any death metal bands back then?
Deftones. I don't know.
So speaking of Deftones, next year, 2021, Deftones with special guest Gojira on tour. Yeah.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
Rescheduled.
That's
so, and it's funny too because they've been
so good
since 2012, maybe even before that. Gojira and Deftones have been on the same time schedule. It's like their albums come out the same month, you know, or like months apart, but definitely close to each other in the same year. And then they go on tour, like since 2012 and up. So obviously, if you didn't know, Gore was the last Deftones album. That was 2016 as well. It's about time. We said 4 years is the turnaround now. So what it takes, not every 2 years or every year.
Yeah.
If you're fucking Iron Maiden. But it's great because I always thought these bands are kind of perfect together because of how they evolved and moved, and they're still heavy as fuck.
Each song, or like each band stands for something in a way. But
when you see them live, it's gonna be your total Sepultura type scenario. It's like heavier, faster, more aggressive than the album. More energy, and the more you give, like the crowd gives to them, the more they give back to us. That's why Austin kind of sucked. Sorry, Austin, but when it comes to metal, we just don't have the aggression or the enthusiasm that really is called upon. All we have is a bunch of metal nerds, and we just stand there with our hands in our pocket, sipping on one $8 beer for the whole fucking show. But can we take a little bit of a break? Come back and we can wrap this up?
Sure. We will be right back, people.
And we're back. Before the break, before I had to pee so goddamn bad, I was doing a little bit of research this morning, and I saw every Gojira album rated from like worst to best. And The Link is the worst. Yeah, they say it's the weakest album, according to Loudwire. All right, so
all right.
I don't know. They do have a voice in metal, but I don't know if they're the experts. Would you argue that? They might be.
I mean, Loudwire does a lot of like. They
They
remind me of like. I don't know. They're really good.
What Revolver used to be.
I was gonna say I think Revolver or even what was it? It started with the B.
Dude, Revolver. Every time I go to their website, it
or...
crashes and freezes up.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Rolling Stone one, because there's so much pop-ups that come with it. It's insane.
Yeah. I think Loudwire has a better by far YouTube presence sort of a thing.
YouTube, you know that makes it very easy
they
to
do those,
get interviews and your up-to-date music.
Danzig freakouts. And you're like
yeah, or like I watched one the other day, top 10 drunkest drummers. Yeah. It was like one famous person. Can you guess who it was?
Tommy Lee.
No. He's a professional. Keith Moon.
Oh, okay.
Keith Moon. That time where he was like, does anyone out there know how to play drums? When he just passed out. Everyone else was like fucking like a fucking dad band or like just some local band in whatever place. You know what I mean? So there was nothing serious. Because to be serious and be in a serious band, you got to have a serious drummer.
Can't be drinking.
You can't be drinking before
or at least drink
show.
At the last song. So that way,
yeah.
Pound it on the last song.
Yeah, get as drunk as you want after the show. Please go follow us on, all the social media websites, Instagram, YouTube, at BANGover Productions. Just type in BANGover and then type P, and it should autocorrect with Productions. Or at least it should pop up in the list somewhere. There's not a lot. So just type in BANGover, find us. YouTube is their best. I love YouTube the most. The one thing I don't pay for. I pay for Spotify and everything else, but I don't pay for YouTube.
It was nice, but then I stopped.
Yeah, I don't know. I use it more than anything else as well.
No ads, and then you can download stuff or the offline viewing. Now this has become a YouTube promotion, but
I fucking love it. But if they keep monetizing our fucking shit, there's gonna be some problems. Yes, please go follow us on all that stuff. Plus, we have merch up. I'm gonna try to get the link worked into.
We're streaming now on Twitch, so we got our whole Twitch thing going.
Oh yeah,
there's the Twitch. Got a whole nother podcast.
We Are Horrible. Yeah, you can find them on our Instagram. There's a link there where you could zip right over and check them out. And if you love horror, you're gonna love this show. We're also me and Chrissy here doing some covers. We're inspired by the Slay at Home,
the Flooded Tomb cover album.
Yeah,
or no, what would it be called? We can't call it that. It would be the Under the Covers.
Yeah,
naked under the covers.
BANGover cover.
Bang you under the covers.
We're working on it.
We'll get somewhere where cover you and bang. Over.
Yeah, just feeling very inspired by the Slay at Home things where I'm like, bands aren't doing shit, so we kind of ran out of things and just started learning complicated ass songs.
We got microphones, we've got gear. Why don't we just record some covers? And I don't know, it's fun.
We're banging out some Mastodon, some fucking old school Ozzy, a little bit there. We were working on that over the mountain.
Megadeth, Cannibal, the list goes on.
The Cannibal,
Static X.
The funnest,
I mean, our
we're trying everything.
Every album we do, it's like, oh, okay. And then
we might as well just learn a song.
Get a song from it. It's like, do Megadeth. Okay, we're gonna get a Megadeth.
Yeah, it's like we've been listening to it. It's like, well, why don't we just learn a Megadeth song? Yeah. What are we doing with our time? What are we doing? Becoming better musicians. Follow us on all those things, or you can follow me at Scott Allen 133 to see all my other projects and other things I do as well. And anything else to say about the Goj, dude?
Well, if they do put out an album, we will be doing that. That'll be another
I believe
episode
they are putting one out.
Whenever that happens, and then or more singles or whatever, new music videos, we'll get it worked out, or we can have maybe like a watching. We'll figure it out, but with more content, we'll definitely like cover of theirs, and then
hopefully in the next like couple of days or a week. I'm not sure how long it's been since the single came out. It kind of just popped up out of nowhere.
It's like 6 days. The music video, I think it said.
So hopefully, here in the next like week or so, we get the next single. Views. Oh fuck!
Yeah. Which
That was quick.
I mean,
For being a band.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's very, very quick for like metal band in these days.
Dude, I've been saying this for fucking the past 10 years, like if not longer. Like, how has no one discovered this band? You know, Gojira. The first time I heard it, I was like, holy fuck! You know, how is this not everywhere?
Like with the,
how is not more metalheads? You know, like
Yeah.
how are people not talking about this more? It was always just the one music nerd.
I think with more this new, you know, the more albums they put out, and like you were saying, the more kind of not poppy, but just more
And just time
digestible that they become.
Plus time behind them, you know, like
exactly.
just you know, first album 2000.
Yes. Wait till there's a
2000,
greatest hits Gojira greatest hits album.
I hope
like,
not.
Holy fuck. Well, that's when you know you've like as a band you're able to take fan, and at some point they're so like fan oriented. It won't be like a label, you know what I mean? It probably would be like these are the fan picks, or even a rarities thing. I could see them doing like what Deftones did, where it's like we're gonna go through and like pick
some
each
lost
little
songs.
things.
Blood and Sand, Blood and Salt. It was supposed to be on the Sea Shepherd album. I could still find it on YouTube. Yeah. It's like Blood and Sand.
Lamb
Blood
of
and
God.
Sand.
Randy, is that his name? Isn't that the
Is
dude?
he in there?
I thought so. I thought that was the or maybe
No. What it is? It's
who is
with
it? It was someone else.
It's with God. You fucked me up on this. It's with.
I'm gonna look it up.
It's. Oh, you piece of shit. Thinking. You know that bald guy that sings well?
That's tall. It could be anyone.
I'm just going blank right now.
Yeah.
Townsend. Sam Townsend with another. So all like it's three people singing. It might be like someone like Mike Patton or something. It's weird. Like, that might be what's his face? I just said.
Oh, it's the dude from Sugar.
Oh, see, there you go. I was like, it's something very unique, and they all three sing at the same time in this one part, and it's so fucking epic, dude. I was so excited when that single came out, and then that album never came out.
Yeah.
So maybe if they do a rarities kind of thing, maybe we find some of those old songs.
Those chestnuts.
You know, and we'll definitely put that one on there.
Yeah, definitely.
Go follow Gojira
Go
on
follow
Instagram.
them. Listen to them. Listen.
Yeah. Merchandise is up there. It's pretty fucking decent price, man. I'm probably going to go there and get like an actual well-fitted shirt because Amazon can go fuck themselves, man.
You don't know what you're getting from that.
Holy shit.
But that,
yeah.
I
got some
don't know
Goj
if we have
masks,
any.
too.
Actually, I'm gonna look at our lineup here, but I think we might actually be doing a Gojira album coming up here in the next month or so. I think there's an anniversary.
But before that, we definitely have Facelift. 30-year. Holy shit.
Oh, it's the Mars to Sirius.
Or
It's going to
25
be August, September. So it's going to be next month. It'll be the 15-year anniversary next month from Mars. So that may be one to cover. And then October, it's the Way of All Flesh anniversary. So that
sounds good for October.
Yeah. For Mars, though. 15
I know.
15 years.
Don't think, in my opinion, Gojira doesn't have one bad album. Not at all.
Yeah.
Every song has been wonderful. A fucking masterpiece, in my opinion. But that's just me. Hopefully more people out there listening to this feel that same way. And, you know, if you're here in Austin, I'll see you when they come on through with Deftones because I'm not missing that. I'll buy my fucking ticket right now,
for
dude.
real. As soon as that goes on sale, boom.
Because it will sell out.
It will sell, but it's going to get pushed back
because
also,
of
so it's
Deftones.
gonna get, who knows, like the day they actually set in stone, if that'll be the day.
Yeah, all they have on their flyer right now, and you can see this on their Instagram, is just rescheduled.
Okay.
Yeah,
but
so-
it's going to happen. So.
But it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So, to next year, everyone, and
To next
to the
year.
next time.
Yes.
And again, keep on rocking.
In the free world.
No, we can't end it like that.
No.
Hail Gojira. Yeah, there you go. Hail Gojira.
Another world. To another world. Yeah.
And to this one.
Well, yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.